I was asked by Peter de Kalove to do Il Trittico. So you have this almost like a murder mystery story at the very first, in the very first piece, Il Tabarro. And then you have Suor Angelica, which has a completely different feeling, nevertheless a very emotional impact, and getting very deeply into not only the tragedy, but also into the mind of one woman, Suor Angelica, who then on the other hand stands literally maybe only as a placeholder for the fates of all the other nuns in this piece. So that's a completely different journey the audience can get on in this piece. And then to finish it all off, we have Gianni Schicchi, which is a comedy. There is not one central theme that runs through all the operas, and I really want to make the distinction between these pieces very clear. But each of the pieces plays an important role in one of the other pieces. That's a bit difficult to explain. So for example, the storyline of Il Tabarro, if you just see it at the first part of the evening, is a very intense, very entertaining story in a set that looks a little bit like a graphic novel page. And I think if you see it only for itself, it's in itself a genre piece, with all its pros and cons. But then when you come to Suor Angelica, you suddenly notice that there is a second level to it, because in Suor Angelica, this piece reappears, and the set you have just seen on stage is now a page in a comic book that the nuns are reading in their convent, which is for them an escape route to another reality, because everything they can't find in the convent, a big love affair, a murder, passionate scenes, everything that is completely banned from their convent can be found in this book. And so again, Suor Angelica will play a role in Gianni Schicchi, and I won't give all the surprises away, but these connections, using each of the piece not as a continuity with the others, but using each of the pieces as the backdrop or a little side story for one of the other pieces, was what attracted me very much. What was very important for me in Gianni Schicchi is that very often when you see this piece, people who look very funny, very colorful, already with a very exaggerated acting style come on stage, and you are supposed to know from the very first minute, well, that's going to be a comedy. And I think comedies are more fun if at the very beginning of the piece you don't know if it ends up in laughter or in a tragedy. So in constructing this, we really try to start less comic, but rather in the way of something like a Claude Chabrol movie or something, where you put a setup on stage that could go into each direction, so that the question, is it a tragedy or is it a comedy, is not solved in the very first minute. And I think that's what hopefully makes the story even more funny at the very end.